Welcome to Lesson 6 of How to Teach Your Child to Read. Today we're going to learn about the hard G and soft G sounds. First, let's review our consonants. I will point to the letter and you tell me the sound or sounds that they make. Make sure you pause the video if you need to so you can answer before I give you the sound. B. This one has two sounds. K, S, D, F, H, J, K, O, M, N, P, Qu, R. This one also has two sounds, S and sometimes Z. T, V, W, Z, Sh, Ing. Let's review our vowel teams from lessons 1 through 5. A, E, Oi, A, O, Oi, A. This one has two sounds. Can you remember both of them? O, ow. The way to remember these is the phrase slow down. The slow word has the O sound. Down has the ow sound. Slow down. O, ow. O, ah, O, E. The hard G and the soft G are the two sounds of G. I will often refer to them as the first sound of G. G. So the hard G or first sound is G. The second sound, also called the soft sound, is J. We use the second sound of G, J, before the letters E, I, or Y in a word. Let's practice the two sounds of G. G, J. G, J. G, J. G, J. Here we have a word. Do you remember the rule? It's the same rule as for the hard C and soft C. Is the G before an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So then we need the second sound, also called the soft G. So the sound we want is J. J. Now say it fast. Gem. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the hard sound, the first sound of G. 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 Ot. Got. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. We want the first sound. G. G. Ab. Gab. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound, the soft G. J. J. L. Gel. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G. G. Ass. Gas. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the hard G. 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 Ob. Gob. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound of G. 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 App. Gap. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound. J. J. In. Gin. Let's practice with some nonsense words. These are made up silly words And the purpose is to make sure that you are reading the sounds that the letters make and not guessing. E, I, or Y? Yes. So we want the soft G. J, j, id, jid. E, I, or Y? No. So we want the first sound, the hard G. G, g, ad, gad. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound. J, j, egg, jeg. E, I, or a Y? No. So we try the first sound. G, g, at, gat. E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound, the soft G, which says j, j, ig, jig. E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G, g, op, gop. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G, g, of, gov. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G, g, ax, gax. Is this R an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G, g, iv, griv. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound, the hard G. G, g, ap, grap. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound, the soft G. J, j, id, jid. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound. G, g, adge, gadge. Let's review our vowel teams again. When I point to the vowel team, you tell me the sound or sounds that they make. A, E, oi, a, o, oi, a. This one has two sounds. Do you remember them both? O, ow. Do you remember the phrase you can use to remember the two sounds? Slow down. O, ow. O, ah. Do you remember the two sounds for this one? O, ow. E. Let's do review from sounds we've learned in lessons 1 through 5. S, ing, sing. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound of C. S, s, ent, scent. S, eek, seek. W, ing, wing. Do you remember the two sounds of this? O, ow. We will try them both. First, let's try with the O sound. P, o, po. Now let's try with the ow sound. P, ow, pow. Sh, ip, ship. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound, the hard G. G, g, ut, gut. Sh, eat, sheet. Is this an E, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound of G. G. Also, do you remember the two sounds this makes? O and ow. We will pronounce the word both ways. O. Grow. Now let's try it with the ow sound. Ow. Grow. Law. Jaw. Do you remember the two sounds? O and ow. We will pronounce the word both ways. O, bow. Ow, bow. Ping, ping. Is this an A, I, or a Y? No. So we want the first sound of C. Add, cad. Is this an E, I, or a Y? Yes. So we want the second sound, the soft G. L, gel. Ing, bring. Shot, shod, shod. Oat, moat. Eel, peel. Oat, boat. On, lawn. Do you remember both sounds? O, ow. O, row. Ow, row. Ing, ting. Let's see if you're ready for the next lesson. In lesson 1, we covered these two sounds. What is this one? A. Do you remember this one? A. If you had trouble with either of those, please go back to lesson 1. In lesson 2, we covered these two sounds. Oi, oi. In lesson 3, we learned these two sounds. E, O. If you had trouble with either of these, please go back and look at lesson 3 again. In lesson 4, we covered these sounds. Sh, ing, and the two sounds of C. K, S. Do you remember the rule for when to use each sound? You use the second sound of C before which letters? You use the second sound, S, before the letters E, I, or Y. The rest of the time, try the hard sound, also called the first sound, which is K. If you're still having trouble remembering that rule, please go back to lesson 4. In lesson 5, we learned that this combination has two sounds. O, ow. Do you remember the phrase that can help you remember those two sounds? Slow down. This one is ah. And we also reviewed the two sounds of C, K, and S. In this lesson, we learned the two sounds of G, the hard G, G, also called the first sound, and the soft G, also called the second sound, J. Do you remember the rule for when to use the second sound of G, J? You use J before which letters? Before E, I, and Y. The rest of the time, try the hard G, the G. If you have trouble remembering this rule, please do this lesson again. Thanks, and see you next time.